Making headlines this hour. The government initiates a sweeping shift in fiscal policy, sharply reducing public expenditure while recording a modest increase in revenue during their first 8 months of the year. The government announces a wide-ranging initiative to regularize the status of thousands of undocumented migrant workers, addressing what officials have described as a significant public concern. And according to the latest monthly statistics report from the Central Bank, Maldives Monetary Authority or MMA, the Maldives reports a remarkable increase in fish exports during the first 7 months of this year. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. The government initiates a sweeping shift in fiscal policy, sharply reducing public expenditure while recording a modest increase in revenue during the first 8 months of the year. Newly published figures from the Ministry of Finance and Planning point to a recalibration of national priorities, with capital investment absorbing the most significant cuts. Government spending totaled $1.60 billion as of the 28th of August, a 15.6% decline from the $1.91 billion recorded during the same period last year. The contraction was led by a 57.4% drop in capital expenditure, funds typically directed toward infrastructure development, including roads, bridges, and airports. Recurrent spending, which covers the operational costs of government offices, also declined by 1.7%. Revenue figures moved in the opposite direction. Government income and grants rose by 4.9%, reaching $1.64 billion compared with $1.56 billion in the previous year. Tax receipts formed the bulk of this total, contributing $1.28 billion, while non-tax revenue accounted for $350.45 million. The breakdown of capital expenditure reveals a continued, though reduced, commitment to infrastructure. By the end of August, $200.91 million had been spent in this category. Without that amount, $350.45 million was allocated for infrastructure assets, underscoring the government's focus on essential public works. A shift in strategic emphasis is evident in the Public Sector Investment Program or PSIP. Last year, land reclamation and road construction dominated PSIP allocations. This year, the majority of funds have been redirected toward maritime infrastructure, with projects aimed at resolving harbor and docking challenges receiving priority. Spending under the PSIP has reached $259.66 million so far, well below the $804.67 million projected for the program in the 2025 state budget. Efforts to contain recurrent costs have also gained traction. Administrative expenses, which comprise 56% of recurrent spending, fell by 5.5% compared with the same period last year. Targeted reductions contributed to this outcome, including a 14.1% cut in office supply expenditures and a 16.6% decrease in repair and maintenance costs. The government announces a wide-ranging initiative to regularize the status of thousands of undocumented migrant workers, addressing what officials have described as a significant public concern. The program, led by the Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology, will offer a legal pathway for undocumented individuals to formalize their presence in the country. The announcement was made by Abdul Majid Ibrahim, State Minister for Homeland Security, following the initial phase of Operation Kurangi, a nationwide effort to collect detailed data on the migrant workforce. Operation Kurangi has so far documented information on more than 160,000 migrant workers. According to State Minister Abdul Majid, the findings revealed a considerable number of individuals working outside the bounds of the legal framework. He pointed to employer negligence as one of the contributing factors, noting that many workers have been unable to comply with immigration regulations due to circumstances beyond their control. In response to these findings, the ministry will introduce a 6-month window during following which undocumented workers may regularize their status. The initiative reflects a shift in strategy, placing greater emphasis on registration and compliance. It complements existing enforcement efforts by Maldives Immigration, which continues to inspect the living and working conditions of migrant workers. Authorities have been deporting individuals found to be in violation of immigration laws. According to the latest monthly statistics report from the Central Bank, Maldives Monetary Authority or MMA, the Maldives reports a remarkable increase in fish exports during the first 7 months of this year. The report indicates an overall surge of 88.8% in fish exports compared to the same period last year. From January to July this year, the Maldives exported a total of 52,763 metric tons of fish, a substantial increase from the 27,950 metric tons exported during the corresponding period in the previous year. The significant growth is primarily driven by the strong performance of fresh, chilled seafood exports. This category saw a massive increase of 106.2%, with 47,902 metric tons exported in the first 7 months of the year compared to 23,234 metric tons in the same period last year. Other categories also saw positive growth, including chilled fresh fish, excluding seafood exports, which rose by 10% to 430 metric tons, up from 391 metric tons in the same period last year. General fish exports also increased by 65% to 895 metric tons compared to 572 metric tons last year. However, not all categories experienced growth, as canned fish exports saw a decline of 5.8%, with 3,536 metric tons exported in the first 7 months of this year, down from 3,752 metric tons during the same period last year. Fish remains the largest component of the Maldives exports, and the government is actively working to enhance the sector's contribution to the national economy. The Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean Resources has announced ambitious plans to significantly boost fish processing and storage capabilities, with aims to increase fish processing capacity 9-fold within the next 3 years. This initiative is expected to further capitalize on the country's rich marine resources, create more value-added products, and ultimately increase income from the fisheries industry. These efforts align with the national strategy to diversify and enhance the Maldivian economy. The Maldives Customs Service announces that freight forwarders can now submit house bill for lading information for all imports and exports by sea electronically through the government's Tradian portal. The move, designed to streamline customs procedures and enhance trade efficiency, is part of a larger government digitization effort. The Maldives Customs Service requires freight forwarders handling sea cargo to register as cargo agents under the General Customs Regulations. These agents are responsible for electronically submitting house bill of lading details to customs within a specific time frame. A new system requires the freight forwarder listed as the co-signee on the master bill of lading to submit the house bill of lading information through the Tradian portal on Maldives National Single Window. A house bill of lading is a document issued by a freight forwarder that serves as a receipt for goods, a contract with a shipper, and a proof of ownership. The official launch of the Tradian Single Window on the 20th of April was a major step in fulfilling President Dr. Mohamed Muiz's vision to provide a greater convenience for Maldivian entrepreneurs. The platform consolidates services from various government agencies, allowing businesses to manage import and export processes online through a single unified portal. The initiative is expected to simplify international trade, cut down on paperwork, and increase efficiency for importers and exporters, aligning with the government's broader policy of national digitization. In a significant move impacting civil service employees, the Civil Service Commission, or CSC, announces that a civil servant's period of service at government-owned companies will now be concluded in the calculation of their retirement benefits. This decision, taken by the CSC, formalized in a circular issued by them is said to benefit a large portion of the public workforce. The new policy amends the calculation of a civil servant's overall length of service, now integrating prior employment at various state institutions, including state-owned enterprises or SOEs. The CSC specified that this includes major SOEs like the State Trading Organization or STO, Maldives Transport and Contracting Company or MTCC, Housing Development Corporation or HDC, Maldives Airports Company Limited or MACL, and Road Development Corporation, also known as RDC, among others. For employees transitioning from these firms to the civil service, their service history will now be fully recognized upon retirement. To implement the change, the CSC has instructed all civil servants who have worked at these government-owned institutions to declare their prior service. This information must be submitted by the employee's current agency, which will use the experience section of the CSC's Viuga online portal to update records. In addition to the retirement policy change, the Commission also announced new digital initiatives to improve accessibility and transparency. The CSC has launched an online complaint submission system, allowing anyone to file grievances through the Commission's My Account service. This system, accessible via an e-pass account, allows users to track the progress of their complaints online. This update follows broader discussions within the government concerning retirement policies and pension schemes. The decision to recognize service in government-owned companies is designed towards harmonizing service regulations across the public sector. Transshipment cargo at Velana International Airport, or VIA, hits a new record in August, with the Maldives Airports Company Limited, or MACL, handling more than 1,900 tons of goods in transit. The milestone, which saw 1,934 metric tons of cargo processed, is the highest monthly transshipment volume reported so far this year. Transshipment refers to goods that enter the Maldives before being sent to a final destination in another country, all while under customs control. The Maldives offers transshipment services to both air-to-air and sea-to-air cargo networks. The August figures represent a significant surge in air transport activity, bolstered by ongoing strategic expansions aimed at transforming the Maldives into a key regional logistics hub. In the first 6 months of 2025, VIA handled a total of 6,879 tons of transshipment cargo, including 5,621 tons in air-to-air cargo and 1,258 tons of sea-to-air cargo. This growth in transshipment highlights the success of the hybrid transport model that combines sea-to-air freight. MACL, the operator of VIA, has attributed the boost to ongoing initiatives that align with President Dr. Mohamed Muiz's vision for expanding cargo services. To support this goal, MACL is actively working to enhance its cargo capabilities, coordinating with scheduled cargo airlines to increase flight frequencies and introduce new routes. It is also engaging with new airlines looking to enter the cargo market. Efforts are also underway to increase sustainable cargo capabilities and promote new trade routes, while making improvements to cargo handling facilities and overall infrastructure to ensure faster and more reliable services. In January 2024, President Dr. Muiz inaugurated a new cargo terminal designed to accommodate this expansion. The new facility, part of a larger airport development project, more than doubled the previous terminal's capacity from 50,000 to 120,000 tons annually. Additionally, the government's long-term goal is to further increase the airport's cargo capacity to 300,000 metric tons. A petition launched by Tiny Hearts of Maldives, a non-governmental organization based in the Maldives, secures the second highest number of signatures among several global campaigns coordinated with the World Heart Federation. The achievement places the Maldives in a unique position to advocate for increased international funding for heart disease at an upcoming United Nations high-level meeting. The petition is part of a wider initiative led by the World Heart Federation to shape the agenda of the UN meeting on non-communicable diseases scheduled for later this year. The Federation has urged world leaders to expand investment in treatment, public awareness, and advocacy for cardiovascular conditions. In support of this effort, the organization partnered with Change.org, a global petition platform, to launch 10 campaigns focused on personal stories and challenges related to heart disease. Among these efforts, the petition spotlighting Tiny Hearts of Maldives has gained significant traction. With the second largest number of signatures globally, the organization sees this as a critical opportunity for the Maldives to contribute meaningfully to the international conversation on heart health. According to the NGO, fewer than 50 additional signatures are needed for the petition to become the most signed among the 10, a distinction that would further elevate its visibility at the forthcoming UN meeting. This year also marks a milestone for the World Heart Federation, the 25th anniversary of its designation of the 29th of September as World Heart Day. Since joining the Federation in 2017, Tiny Hearts of Maldives has remained an active member, organizing annual awareness programs in observance of the day and reinforcing its commitment to cardiovascular health advocacy. BYD has slashed its sales target for this year by as much as 16% to 4.6 million vehicles. Two people with knowledge of the matter says, as the Chinese EV giant faces its slowest annual growth in 5 years and other signs that its era of record-setting expansion could be drawing to a close. China's largest automaker told analysts in March it was targeting sales of 5.5 million vehicles for 2025. According to sources internally, the number has been downgraded multiple times in recent months. The latest figure of at least 4.6 million vehicles was communicated inside the company and to select suppliers last month to help guide planning, according to the people, both of whom spoke on condition of anonymity. The sources added the target remains subject to change depending on market conditions. Last week, BYD reported a 30% drop in quarterly profits, its first decline in more than 3 years. BYD did not respond to a request for comment. BYD's production slid for a second straight month in August, marking its first consecutive monthly contraction since 2020. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says Russia should have no say on whether international troops are deployed in Ukraine as part of post-war security guarantees. Mark Rutte said Ukraine, as a sovereign nation, had the right to decide on its security arrangements without external interference and that Russia had nothing to do with it.
Ukraine is a sovereign nation. If Ukraine wants to have security guarantee forces in Ukraine to support a peace deal, it's up to them. Nobody else can decide about it. And I think we really have to stop making Putin too powerful.
Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said foreign troops in Ukraine would be unacceptable for Russia. Some 30 leaders will meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky over future security guarantees to Kiev if there is a ceasefire with Russia, hoping they have done enough to persuade the United States to back their efforts. The summit, both in person and virtually, of the Coalition of the Willing brings together leaders mostly from Europe, but also Turkey, Australia, and Canada. Ferrari celebrates past glory and hope to speed away from current woes when they close out the European Formula One season with their long-suffering home fans at Monza this weekend. Sunday, the September 7th Italian Grand Prix marks the 50th anniversary of late Austrian triple champion Niki Lauda's first title, secured at the circuit with Enzo Ferrari's team in front of a huge and passionate crowd. The cars, now raced by seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, last year's winner at the Pista Magica, will pay tribute with a special red and white retro livery harking back to the 312T of 1975. Ferrari fan favorite Jean Alesi, a one-off winner in Canada in 1995, will drive that year's V12-powered Ferrari 412T2 for a noisy blast from the past around the superfast track. It will all be a welcome distraction from present realities for a team that have not won a title since 2008 and, despite still being second overall, have given their fans a campaign full of pain. Ferrari have yet to win this year, something lower-ranked rivals Red Bull and Mercedes have managed, and the home returns comes hot on the wheels of both cars crashing out in the Netherlands last weekend. To make matters worse, Hamilton, record winner of 105 races, who had the fans at fever pitch when he joined from Mercedes in January, will make his first Monza appearance as a Ferrari driver with a 5-placed grid penalty. The 40-year-old has yet to stand on the podium in 15 starts in red, and the sanction makes that even less likely at the Temple of Speed for the 5-time winner with McLaren and Mercedes. McLaren, meanwhile, will be chasing their 6th win in a row and 13th in 16 races and are whopping 324 points clear in the constructors' standings with Australian Oscar Piastri and Britain's Lando Norris in a 2-horse title race. The odds have shifted in Piastri's favor after Norris retired with a smoking car in Zandvoort while in second place, but the Briton was on pole at Monza last year and also set the fastest lap. Sunday could see Piastri add to his 34-point lead or Norris claw back a fistful with 8 races and 3 sprints remaining in the Asia, Americas, and Middle East legs to come. Ferrari fans would love it if their drivers could write another narrative, and team boss Fred Vasseur saw some positives amid the debris of the Dutch weekend, despite saying Friday was the team's worst in 3 years. Formula One has a remarkable record of pulling rabbits out of the hat at emotional moments and on special anniversaries that will be one straw at least for the fans to clutch at. A UAE-based company transforms humidity into hydration using energy-efficient technologies to provide fresh water from the air in the desert country. At a factory in Abu Dhabi, workers at Mahowa oversee a bottling line where purified water is produced through atmospheric water generation, or AWG, a process that condenses humidity into safe, drinkable water. Founded in 2023, Mahowa says it produces about 40,000 liters a day at the site, along with tens of thousands more through mobile dispensers installed in homes and offices across the country.
Our production capabilities is literally unlimited. Today we are producing around 40,000 liters only in this location, but we have thousands of machines all around the country which produces tens of thousands of liters every single day.
The company's technology uses heat exchange systems to capture moisture in the air with relatively low energy use, according to the company. Rutman said Mahowa's machines can produce up to 5 liters of water per kilowatt of energy, and engineers are refining the process further. Mahowa's 250 milliliter bottled still drinking water retails in supermarkets at around $1 a price, higher than other regular local water brands. The UAE-based company's product line also includes air-to-water dispensers. Among those is Jenny, which retails at $3,800 and can produce about 11,000 liters annually. According to the UAE government, the country, which has limited natural water resources, relies heavily on thermal desalination. And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.
Allah